all you cool cats. So I've called this one On a Loop. I was just having some thoughts to myself about people that live on a loop. Now, there's very obvious loops that people live in because we kind of look at everybody existing on the daily loop and you kind of see that, right? This is the kind of loop that has one kind of person in their kind of baseline system has their daily life short loop, and then they get to have their anxiety cataclysmic loop every once in a while. So these roads are all torn up for construction. So like, for instance, one of the things that's a normie thing that is the biggest railing for those of us having this conversation is how you are a materialist, reductionist, probably atheist, right? Meaning that the only matters worth expending the mind and putting your heart upon are official physical world, right? And so they got their daily life stuff involved with that, the grind, the family and friends that you've put into the routine to kind of like make sense of your life in lieu of it having any kind of a higher purpose. There's no such thing really as higher purpose unless you're somebody working in some big part of the world, right? You're now you're a scientist and you're involved in this and that, right? And so then your major loop for anxiety is things like the climate change crisis, because they've had people in a climatology loop since the 1970s. This has been discussed, at length, the climate change psyop situation, right? So the other side of these general loops that we have to deal with in the infinite feedback loop of persons, on the religious side, I was just listening to the guys over on Secret Society of Good Guys. They were having a conversation about how, like, I guess, like, Mormons are on like a 2-year. There's always a 2 years to the end time kind of cycle going on for, like, I guess, like what you would call a fundamentalist Mormon or something. Or that might even be more mainline, right? Like, that's an example, right? So you've got some causality that is rationalized by how things are foretold in the Bible, and so then you've got your biblical prophetic loops that other normies are stuck in, right? And so these two are the major narratives, the major loops, the major psyches of huge swaths of those not interested in the individuation process and are very interested in being part of a bigger world. And for them, it's either the kingdom of heaven or the big global infrastructure of things going on in the world are these two religions, if you will, for them to function off of, and some sort of promise that something's going to go wrong unless you change your behavior and you impose that behavioral change on others is a big thing that fills up their psyche and goes into the charge for the agenda of some of the very purpose of these groups, right? Because there's the group's purpose on the PSYOP side, which is how it controls you. But then there's the group's purpose for the group in the sense of they need little tasks to do. So we need to invent a cause that coincides with the whole reason why we're controlling people in the first place. And so then you go into these different kinds of grifts which rob from you and then destroy the previous productivity of the generation on the out, right? Like you're watching the boomers' world get destroyed to build a world that will last through Generation A, right? Because we're now like Generation Z has grew up in the pandemic and, you know, did their thing on their loop. You know, and some of these loops are in the front and in the back, right? You know, there's going to be a, you know, like, because the kind of feminism that we're seeing now is on the fringes, and then it became a loop in the modern, and then it might get thrown back into the fringes, but it's not gotten rid of, because you can't get rid of something that someone wants to be. So then you've got all these little groups that are like past their prime, they'll move on, they'll evolve into something else, right? You know, but somebody who just did not let go of their Antifa identity, someone who didn't let go of their not their sexuality, their true sexual identity, but their LGBTQ etc. identity, which is their manipulated political construct, right? So those are other loops, right? It's because, you know, we went a whole year, for instance, right? Like, well, we went several years, right? We had 4 years with a particular person of a particular party in office, in which there was a promise of a horrible thing to come that doesn't come. And then, when it didn't come, they leave it alone for a while, use a different complaint, and then when it arises again, they'll try and use the same thing again and hope that you all forgot, right? Because, you know, what are you going to say next time that person runs for office again? You can't say the same things. And all this time has passed, right? The only reason why you can get away with that loop is the memory, right? And the thing is that it's not that the people on the opposite side have wisened up. That's not it. It's just party partisanship. Each side can be blind to the other's truth that they're telling the other. The real issue is that they're cringing out because they're just telling you what they believe about the other party and saying, because I believe this about the other party, that is why you should vote for me, because I believe they are evil. Don't you agree? That's their only, like, there's no argument. They're just looking for people that are into their voting for government power-based religion that we call a political party. Pretty cut and dry situation, if you ask me, right? So it doesn't matter whether the guy is good or evil. They're literally voting on him, right? It's like people in 2020 saying, when's the economy going to occur? Because the economy came and crashed. Like, that's the other thing about the loop, is that if a promise of the loop is delivered, then they will gaslight themselves and you into it not happening, right? Like, people are right now waiting for the big one because 2020, 2021 was allegedly not big enough. Guess what? That was big enough for fucking me. After 9/11, People didn't think that was big enough. And, because I was just deciding to be interested in being a truth seeker after that point, because I wanted to understand how this nation that promised to protect me failed to protect me under what seemed like the everyday protection, right? The everyday protection is, oh, we got this FAA and this Air Force and all these competent people in airports, and yeah, how could such a thing happen, right? How could X, Y, and Z thing fail, and then X, Y, and Z consequence of the failure be so much more disastrous than any architectural engineer would have expected on that day? And then we reverse engineer it like every regularly known to be competent by the merit of their work in the past, having work to show it, not just some theoretical architectural engineer, but some legitimate architectural, I just can't, right? And people are on their loops. People are on their loops. And so, that could be something that we forget all the time, in the moment, because you think somebody's waking up because you're having a particular conversation with them today. And then in a year from now, you ain't seen them much in growth and development. They may still, remember that, may have a monicum of wisdom about like, I ain't never gonna fall for that again, right? But they haven't done anything else to improve their circumstances. They still have the mindset of being a dependent upon an existential authority, which also means that you are in fear of an existential authority. Threats are real. I'm on no loop, because just because threats are real doesn't mean I have to sit there and for anybody's peace of mind or for my grift, I have to tell you when I think the existential threat will manifest and what I think that existential threat is, right? Because that's how these prophets work, how these scientific predictors, they're just a non-mystical prophet that think that their math is great. They probably don't understand that they're doing something wrong with their multiplication tables or something. If I had believed that the government was going to take me away, let's just say any time after 9/11, the second I started publicly questioning 9/11, if I lived literally like that for more than a year, then I would want to have my head examined. Because when I started doing this in 2012, every year I found more courage. Every year I changed my narrative and was a little less afraid. Had a little bit more competence because I had grown so much. I had learned so much. I was breaking personal patterns. It made it easier for me to look at that internal microcosm of breaking my internal personal patterns and breaking external toxic patterns. And beginning to have the self-respect and love and awareness to stand in my own authority and say no to something that you may not have realized before you just tried to say no, before you did the personal work. To say like, oh my God, I will be rejected if I do, like, I will be removed from being loved. Wait a minute. I've had really good conversations with these people. Don't they know me? I had to do this decision for myself, and now they think there's something wrong with me, and I can't be cool with them anymore, right? You feel the social outcasting, and for some, it's just a momentary thing. They're in shock. They've never heard of such a thing, but for others, it's very serious because they're Their momentum, their entire momentum is in another direction. And they feel threatened by the existence of someone who is not like the world they want to live in their world. And they will cast you out of their world. And then you start getting a sense of what a world really is. And when you get cast out of somebody else's world, that's the end of a world. It's terrifying to be cast out of everything that you know and is familiar, and to be put out on your own. If you're like me, you have enough inkling for solidarity that when you go back into your inkling for belongingness, it's not like you were desperate to belong somewhere, right? It's just like, I've been alone long enough, right? And then the rest is a question of, do I know what the fuck I am doing amongst any crowd to feel a sense of belonging, right? That gets more to the, like, there's another level of shadow work where you're really on your own, right? You know, so, like, I mean, like, that could be very much me. It's just like, I've dealt with so much and been so less happy for not being myself to retain approval from others. You know? You know, especially if things that you do may require skill and talent, and you screw up and you feel stupid or like a failure. You know, it's just like, can't tell you how many times I don't feel worthy of being in music because I pick up the guitar and it sounds like rubbish. There's shit that I've posted on Zeralath Shreds, my music channel, that I think a lot of it's great. I think a lot of it's a little cringy, but I sat there and I said, God fucking damn it, I haven't put out anything. And so I fucking uploaded just something, right? And you know, that's because, like, I may kind of need that belonging in metal, because I don't like doing it without fucking other people. I don't feel the fucking personal charge. I don't know if that's just some sort of mere confidence issue or what. But I certainly know that it is a whole lot of shit that I am not qualified for without way more experience when it comes to self-production. Oh, God damn it. All right. Yeah, when it comes to self-production. All right. I'm off to work. I'll catch you guys later.